Good morning and welcome back to the One in Celtic Fans View this morning. It is Friday morning, it's the day that we'll hear from Brendan Rodgers again after that game on Wednesday night, and it's a game that we'll look forward to on Saturday when we entertain league business again. Let's look back at the month of November because it was an important month when we started off the month. It was a really busy month with some hard games of football lined up. It started off at the beginning of the month with Aberdeen. It started off with Aberdeen in the semi-final at Hampden, and I don't think that we've ever seen a one-sided semi-final at Hampden for a very long time. Celtic were completely dominant. We got off the month to an absolutely fantastic start, and then we entertained RB Leipzig on the 5th, just a few days later. Celtic were in fine form and fine spirits after the weekend's game against Aberdeen, but Leipzig were going to bring a different thing to Celtic Park. Celtic were a bit dubious about German teams after the result against Dortmund just earlier on in the Champions League. Leipzig go ahead, and everyone thought, oh, it's Dortmund all over again, please no Celtic. But Celtic dug out a performance that turned the corner when it comes to Champions League. We went out 3-1 winners, and it was a absolutely fantastic result again for Celtic. Then on Sunday the 10th of November we headed to Kilmarnock, that horrible pitch at Kilmarnock, and it was a dogged performance at Kilmarnock, but we won 2-0. It was a 2-0 win, and it was one that kept us firing on in the league. Then took us to Tynecastle on the 23rd. Tynecastle was always a hard away ground with the reduced away fans at Tynecastle. Me for one want Hearts to go down because I think it's karma if they do go down. The reduced allocation to 650 made the stadium look absolutely terrible with around 20 minutes to go when Hearts fans disappeared in their thousands, and the stand that Celtic fans do sit in was half empty with Hearts fans. It's all good for these teams in the SPFL to want to have a fortress of their own, but their fans ultimately need to come. And does it look good for the Scottish game? This game was televised and on a late Saturday evening kickoff. All eyes would be on this game around the UK and around the world. No, it wasn't, was it? Because it was a absolutely terrible first half, and when you've got stadiums like that, I mean, what does it say to the viewers around the world? It's like, you're not going to really, I mean, it's like watching Conference League European football. You've seen some of the stadia last night around Europe, almost empty. People aren't interested in it, and that's the image that then gives. I mean, it's Conference League football in a European term, and that's what that does. So we moved on from the Hearts game. We won 4-1. We kept ourselves going at the top of the league. Aberdeen had dropped some points. Aberdeen went on to drop another 2 points. It was an unbelievable week, and we entertained Club Brugge at Celtic Park. Celtic fans went into the game with enthusiasm and excitement that we could win the game and get us to that 10 points. Club Brugge had other ideas and almost sent us homewards to think again on our own ground. But it was a hard-fought draw, and it wasn't a draw that was celebrated like the Atalanta game. No, the Atalanta game was a massive result for Celtic. Celtic just didn't turn up the first half of the Club Brugge game, and Brendan Rodgers did bemoan the fact that, look, if you're only going to play 45 minutes of a game, you're going to get what you deserve, and that's not a lot. We did have chances and opportunities to put it to bed. Kyogo once again missing past the post. Arne Engels shooting over the bar, and Rio Hatate, instead of flicking the ball backwards to Kyogo, who was unmarked at the back post, decides to try and do a diving header. When was the last time that you've seen Rio Hatate try to do a diving header? Anyway, on to the weekend. It's upwards and onwards. It's still a fantastic time to be a Celtic fan. It's been a fantastic month of football, and we are still in the Champions League. We are still in the qualifying sections. Yes, we may have dropped down to about 20th, but with 3 games still to go, we can still climb back up that table. It'll only take a couple of points and a couple of goals to get us right back into the mix. This weekend we entertain Ross County in one day. 6 hours, 46 minutes and 7 seconds according to the Celtic website at this moment of recording the video. Yes, it is going to be a fantastic game. Ross County always give us a bit of a game, but Celtic are due a high-scoring result again, I think. And it would be a great way to finish off the month. It would be a great way to finish off the month with another good performance. I think that the players and the playing staff and the coaching staff will... I think they'll have a point to prove. But Ross County may think that Celtic may have a little bit of a European hangover. They may think that Celtic will have a European hangover this weekend. Will Celtic ultimately have a European hangover, or will it be back to league business and back to normal? Now, there's some teams can do it in the league and some teams can't. Anyway, there's been transfer speculation. There has been transfer speculation going around the last couple of days, and a certain man that is in the know when it comes to everything Celtic and transfers has said that Celtic are after a couple of players. But there's one player at Celtic who's on loan, who ultimately must be saying to the boss, what do I need to do to impress you? It's been suggested that Celtic are going to look out for a striker in the next window. And we're all sitting thinking, wait a minute, we have a striker out on loan who's scoring goals in the Europa Conference League. He's scoring in Europe. He's been fantastic for the club that he's on loan for. But Johnny Kenny seems to be getting overlooked by Brendan Rodgers. Shamrock Rovers earned a 1-1 draw against Rapid Vienna. Yes, Rapid Vienna. And Johnny Kenny scoring again to earn Shamrock Rovers a draw and away point against Rapid Vienna in the UEFA Conference League. It's his third goal in as many games since it's the 18th since rejoining Shamrock Rovers on loan at the beginning of the Irish season. 18th since he's went back to them. And I just don't understand. We've been crying out for a younger... Brendan Rodgers wants a younger striker to come into the team. And he's put Johnny Kenny out on loan back to Shamrock Rovers. And he must not just fancy him as a player, which is unfortunate, because he signed at Celtic at 18-year-old a few years back. And he was basically put straight back out on loan with the knowledge that he might get back into the Celtic team. Alongside his Conference League goals, he's played 336 minutes of action, a long time, 14 attempts and goals, and passing accuracy 84%. Anyway, and with Celtic looking for a third choice striker, wouldn't it be better? I mean, we've been talking about, and you're trying to give... Celtic are playing a double-edged sword here. One statement, they're saying that we want to bring players through the youth system, and we want to bring youth players in. Oh, Johnny Kenny didn't come through the youth system, I understand that. But he's a younger player that signed at 18-year-old who thought, right, a couple of years' time I could maybe get into the first team at Celtic. He's now been on loan and he's been scoring goals, and he's doing it in, okay, it's a lower tier, but listen, he's scored more goals in Europe than what Hearts has. Perspective. And if you want to give younger players a pathway, and if you want to bring younger players to Celtic, bringing them in, buying them in, and then putting them out on loan, and then saying you're not good enough, and that can harm their career. If Johnny Kenny's good enough to be signed for Celtic in the first place, why isn't he given a chance? And that's what I'm getting at. I just think that if we go out and spend more money on another player, another striker, Brendan Rodgers did say that he wanted a third choice striker, and that was going to be Rocco Vata, but we all know what happened to him. He up sticks and buggered off for cash. Johnny Kenny wants to play for Celtic. He wants to play for Celtic. He spoke about the fact that Celtic haven't kept in touch with him much over the last season. His loan spell does run out in just a couple of days' time, I think. I'm sure it's the end of this month it runs out. If not, it's December. But he will be back at Celtic Park. Will he get some game time in January with Celtic? Will he even be looked at by Celtic? Or will we be just told he's not good enough and he's going out on loan or to ultimately to be sold? It's an interesting one, but anyway, we'll move on from that. Stephen McGowan's been reporting that we're after a left-sided winger, which means that the one and only Honduran could be on his way out the door. A lot of people saying he's not good enough. The Honduran wants to fight for his place. Luis Palma, the enigma at Celtic, when he goes to play for Honduras, he's absolutely a fantastic player. Anyway, Brendan Rodgers has a player at Celtic who is a leader. Yes, he's a fantastic player. And when you think of this player, you think, it would have been good to have him at Celtic a few years ago. There's not been many times that we've had a goalkeeper. Yep, a goalkeeper that, there we go, there he is there, who calls the players together and right after a goal scored. Before they go back up to the halfway line to kick the ball off, he calls a team meeting to tell everyone to calm the hell down. Yes, it's Kasper Schmeichel. Celtic need to make sure that Kasper Schmeichel signs the year extension deal that he has. I mean, all great for bringing Johnny Kenny back into the team and having him as a younger player. But when you look at the player that we have at Celtic, never for many, many years. I mean, you think back to the holy goalie and his exploits. You think back to Fraser Foster and how good he was as a shot stopper. But never have we had a goalkeeper like the cloth that Kasper Schmeichel, the ghost, Kasper the ghost, Kasper Schmeichel is made of. Someone that has that authority and over the players, someone that has the experience at all levels, someone that is a father figure within the team. Even Callum McGregor was shocked when the goalkeeper called everyone together. You can see Callum McGregor there actually walking towards the goal scorer. And yes, the goal scorer, Cameron Carter-Vickers. And it was good to see Kasper Schmeichel. And we need to make sure that Kasper's signed up for the extra year that he has. I know that he's at the same age as what Joe Hart was when he retired. But Joe Hart had been there and done it. And Joe Hart wanted to go out on a high. Kasper Schmeichel has got the chance to go out on an even bigger high, have a fantastic run, a better run than what Joe Hart had at Celtic in the Champions League. He's got the chance of winning a treble, and if he wins the treble, he'll have won a treble, and you could say to him, he's got all the rights, he's earned the right to walk into his retirement as a happy ending. Not that kind of happy ending. Don't know what you were thinking of. But yeah, he's got the right to retire if he wants to. But I think he's still got a lot left in him. And I think Sinisalo must be looking at him and watching him in training every day and learning so much from him. I just hope that we can keep Sinisalo at Celtic long enough so that he manages to get into the first team, because what I don't want it to happen is, I don't think Sinisalo would do that. I think he knows that he's going to earn his place. He's the second choice. Let's face it, Bain is no longer second choice. He is second choice with the view of becoming long-term Celtic goalkeeper. And I think if Sinisalo can learn off of Kasper Schmeichel for another year, it would be tremendous football education for Sinisalo. And the fact is that we need someone like Kasper Schmeichel, because we don't have anyone else apart from Callum McGregor that has that experience. And that's the downside of this Celtic team. And I think that's shown in the Champions League. We don't have enough experienced players. When you look at some of the great teams of the past, if you look back to Martin O'Neill's team, it had a vast amount of experience that he brought in, along with the younger players that he brought through from the academy. When you look at Brendan Rodgers' side, it had older experienced players. When you look at Gordon Strachan's team, had older players as well. Every team needs that older player contingent to just make sure that the team goes in the right direction. It's all fine and good Celtic buying younger talent and putting them on 5-year contracts and saying that they're going to be there 5 years down the line. But ultimately, Brendan Rodgers only has 1.5 years left on his contract at Celtic. I'm sure that the Celtic board will sit down with Brendan, and he's not going to be too hard to deal with, is he? Let's hope not. I don't think he will be. But ultimately, Kasper Schmeichel is the one player. I was going to talk about this video, and I was going to title it as what does Johnny Kenny have to do to get recognition by Brendan Rodgers. But I think this morning we need to look back, and we need to look at what Kasper Schmeichel did and has done since he's been at Celtic. And it's not often that we get a goalkeeper with his experience and his authority within the team to be able to talk to all the players, and even Callum McGregor. That should have been a captain that was pulling the players together. But no, it was Kasper Schmeichel. As soon as the goal went into the back of the net, he didn't even pick the ball out of the net. He went and grabbed the players and said, right, get everyone together. We need to talk. Calm the bloody hell down. Talk to each other. Focus. Play your game. And make sure that we get back into this. That is the mark of a leader. That's the mark of a great. We've never had anybody like him since Scott Brown left. And I think that's where I'm getting with this. Scott Brown was the leader. He was the captain. He was the living legend. Kasper Schmeichel will never get to that level that Scott Brown would because of, obviously, the amount of titles that Scott Brown won. But in Kasper Schmeichel, we have a player that's a bit as good as Scott Brown when it comes to getting the team together. And on that note, I think that we should make sure that Kasper Schmeichel does sign the extension of the deal, because if we have any aspirations to get better in the Champions League next season, my God, we're going to need him. Anyway, on that note, have a fantastic day, Celtic fans, wherever you are. Tell me where you're watching from this morning. If you've still made it to the end of the video, drop a little comment and tell me where you're watching from, and I'll reply to you. And the sun's out today. It's going to be around about 24 degrees here today. On that note, have a fantastic day, Celtic fans all around the world.